footballers shouldn't get involved in politics at all for this reason, because as soon as they insisted on taking the knee throughout the Euros, despite a lot of public opposition, they now have to be accountable morally to wherever they play, whatever moral cause they take on. And I don't think they should have to do it, but this is a rod they've created for their own back.
Absolutely. You know, when you start pretending to be these virtuous people, bending down and taking the knee and standing up against injustice, then people are naturally going to ask you, well, why aren't you standing up against other forms of injustice? And in fact, worse forms of injustice. So in Qatar, you know, Gareth Southgate says we're going to educate ourselves. It shouldn't take him very long. You know, in Qatar, if you are a gay person, you can be jailed for up to 3 years. If you're a woman, you have to ask a male guardian for permission to do the most basic things. Women don't have rights. If you are a migrant worker, you will work in the most extraordinarily punishing conditions for poor pay, and you risk your own life and health. So these facts are all out there. They're widely known. And yet Gareth Southgate says it's complicated, which he never said about Black Lives Matter, a deeply unpopular movement, which is what taking the knee represents. He never said it about the United States. He never said it about any of the issues that footballers have been taking a stand on recently. But when it comes to Qatar, he kind of hangs his head and says, well, we're not sure if we'll take a protest. It really stinks of hypocrisy, actually.
No, it completely does. And you know what, Brendan? Guess what it comes down to? Moolah, the big bucks, because that's what footballers really care about. Have a look at this.
We as a nation do a lot of business with Qatar as well. You know, I was reading about Rolls-Royce, 10,000 new jobs, heavy investment from Qatar into green machinery and the way of working. So,
oh, Brendan, they make Rolls-Royces, so of course we have to support them and turn a blind eye to the fact that being gay is illegal, to the fact that females who are raped in Qatar often end up going to jail themselves because they had sex out of wedlock. Forget that, because they make Rolls-Royces.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better illustration of how shallow and hypocritical wokeness is, because basically what he's saying is, you know, they're helping us make cars for rich people, so let's not mention all the terrible things that they're doing. You know, business and money clearly trump principle when it comes to this kind of woke posturing. And, you know, the thing is that there are lots and lots of people in Qatar. As you said at the beginning, I don't think footballers should be doing politics at all. Get off your knees, play football, score some goals. That's your job. That's why we love you. That's why we find it entertaining. But there is this double standard. There's a double standard where you're allowed to bash America, you're allowed to bash Britain, you're allowed to call us horrible, racist countries where all the Neanderthals have to be re-educated by these woke footballers. But when it comes to an Islamic regime like Qatar, which has an extraordinarily repressive government system, then they just go remarkably quiet. So that double standard, I think, is really going to rub people up the wrong way. And lots of people are going to be asking questions about the football players now.
And they set themselves up for this, Brendan. I mean, I can't believe David Beckham either, by the way. It's astonishing to me. He's taking £150 million direct from the Qataris to become one of the faces of the World Cup. I mean, this is the bloke, Brendan, who posts on Instagram anytime he's wearing, you know, a Pride T-shirt to try and look woke. They don't really care about morals, because if they did, someone like Beckham would turn down this money.
You know, you have a situation now where footballers in the UK will wear rainbow laces to show how pro-LGBT they are, how pro-pride they are, and then they will happily play football in a country like Qatar, where, by the way, there's still a death penalty for homosexuality. It's not being enforced at the moment. It's incredibly rare. It hasn't happened for a long time, but it's on their statute books. It's on their statute books, you know, and they're going to play in that country. So when people like David Beckham take a lot of money from Qatar and then try and pretend to be these very pro-LGBT people, I think actually what's going to happen in the next few months and right through till next year is the woke posturing of sportsmen is going to collapse, and lots of people are going to see through it, and they're going to see that what a pose it was, and how shallow it was, and how shallow virtue signalling more broadly is. Virtue signalling is summed up by the fact that you wear rainbow laces on your football boots And then you play football in a country where there are gay men in prison simply for being gay. And if that's what virtue signalling and wokeness is all about, it's not surprising most people reject those things.